Good morning, YouTube, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. I wanted to give you all a sincere apology. I started on a project that was that reverse flow smoker. It's probably been, I don't know, I want to say probably 4 months ago when I started on it. Work has been daunting, and it just ate my time up, and in the process of working and play, I had other little projects that came up, and I didn't get a chance to video those. So I just wanted to kind of give you a look at what I've been doing and what I hope to get back to here as soon as possible. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to build a wooden gantry so I could pick that smoker tank up. The thing weighs about 500 pounds empty. So I ended up making one out of steel. I needed my trailer, so I used it, and here's this pan over here to it. This is about as far as I got with the smoker. Got the gantry put together. It ain't the prettiest thing on the planet, but that tank weighs about 500 pounds and it's doing a fantastic job. This is the one that y'all saw in the videos where I was cutting the doors out on it. That's as far as I actually got with it. And I hope to get back on this thing here really quick. So it's basically, it's a little tight. It's pretty much just right where we left off at. Not much has changed there. This is just one of the small projects that I got myself involved in, and again I apologize that I didn't get anything videotaped on it. Among the projects, she'll pan this away, my lovely wife is my camera lady, and she does a fantastic job. My hat's off. We started putting in some new fencing, so that kind of ate up a little bit of my time. We got that, it ain't complete, but we got a lot of it done, and it'll be this way. One over here, sweetie. And so another one of the projects, or should I say honeydew list, was she wanted a swimming pool in my backyard, and I can't afford an in-ground. We went above ground. And we ended up with this thing. It's a pretty good size, 12 by 24, 52 inches deep. And just putting the pool in wasn't the end of this game. She also wanted sidewalk stuff, so this is definitely going to be a project in the process. So she started working on the sidewalk. It turned out really nice. We're nowhere near done just yet, but it's looking really good. We still got a little bit of work. We'll come down this end of it. And so we're starting on this end of it too. We laid in some flowers to give it some color and something a little prettier. We're going to end up putting a deck on the far end and down along this wall here. So again, that's just one of those little projects that kind of got in the way of getting my smoker work out of the way. So in the process of the smoker, y'all seen how difficult it was to use the small grinder wheels, the cutoff wheels to cut the plate out. That's 1/4 inch thick steel, and I'll tell you what, those cheap cutoff wheels I was getting from Harbor Freight, they got the job done. They just wasn't a preferred method. You go through a bunch of them, they're dangerous, etc., etc. I picked up a couple of DeWalt's, and they cut a little bit better, lasted a little bit longer. So I ultimately come to the decision that I didn't want to do any more of the long major cuts with a cutoff wheel, so we went this route. So rather than use the cutoff wheels for the big cuts on that thing, I've got quite a few big cuts I got to make yet. I decided to go with this guy, and this is going to be the Lotos LTP5000D Plasma Cutter. I realize there's a bunch of these. So I know there's like 1,000 unboxing and setup videos on this thing. I contemplated not messing with it and just setting it up and going to work with it, but I like making the videos, and so I thought I'd just go ahead and do an unboxing and we'll go through this thing. I got this off of eBay. I'll tell you what I paid for it, $399, shipped to the house. Like everybody else, I went through and I watched a ton of the reviews on it. It's kind of got everything I wanted. It's in the poor man's range. You know, this is the bottom end of the scale. Not everybody can afford Hypertherm and you know, Millers and all that good stuff. So, you know, this is where I'm at. I'm just a small-time hobbyist in my garage. Why have a $2,000 plasma cutter that I'm going to use a couple of times a week, or if that? So this is the route we went. You know, it's got the pilot arc, which is a nice feature, obviously. The consumables, from what I understand and from what I've seen, aren't the cheapest. Lotus says that you can only get them from them. I don't think that's the factual. I think you can probably find something else. Just got to do a little homework and some digging and find it. So, without further ado, I'm going to crack this thing open. As you can tell, it's still in the box. It's never been opened. It took about a week to get it, give or take a couple days, and that's where we're at. Mary there. Okay. So, like I said, we're just going to do a quick and relatively brief unboxing. Everybody's seen these things 1,000 times, but hey, it's YouTube. I want to do one too, so here we go. Again, this is just the Lotos LTP5000D Plasma Cutter, and it does have the pilot arc, which, as we all know, is the cat's meow when it comes to these plasma cutters. And after saying that, I'm going to tell you now, I've never used a plasma cutter, so this is going to be a whole new ballgame for me as well. Get rid of the trash here. And let's get this thing open. And we'll see what we got. On the top we got a warranty and registration card. And looks like some of their paraphernalia. A couple of consumable parts. There's the knife. This thing off of here. Let's get this out. And let's see what Santa Claus put in the box for us. We have a work clamp. It actually feels pretty solid. It's got, looks like, I don't know if that's a DIMS 25 or what that is, but it's pretty common. It's the same thing that I've got on one of my small welders over there, so I guess it's going to be alright. It does have the copper strap in it. It feels pretty decent. There's the box. Nice little bag. It appears like everything in this shipping container has been boxed up pretty nice. I don't see any damage yet. Let's see what we got here. And so the torch itself is wound up pretty good. I can figure out how they twisted this thing together. And I'll get a measurement on this torch cable and all that. And I'm not real sure now what the specification said it's supposed to be. But this is the torch itself. Looks like it's got a little safety on it, which is nice. And apparently it comes with one set of consumables. Well, it came with one porcelain section of it and the little spacer guide thingy. And it does come with a tip, and I'm not real sure what they call these caps on these things. We'll have to look it up. Again, I'm not a proficient plasma cutter kind of person. I've never used one in my life. I've been around a couple of them, but I've never used one. So, but from what I'm seeing so far, this seems like it's, as far as quality, it appears to be pretty good. You know, of course, time will tell once we put some power to it and start using it. Which I'm going to lay out a few pieces here on the cutting table, and we'll bust through some thin metal, some sheet metal, and I've got some 1/2 inch plate. I've got some 3/8 plate, some 1/4 inch plate, some aluminum. So we'll put it through some trial and error and see what happens. Like I said, again, this is there's some parts flying everywhere. Obviously, that's your air. It's going to be more than likely the trigger itself, the power cord, and that's going to be for your pilot arc. Okay. And let me get this thing measured out real quick. Okay, it looks like the torch lead itself measures in at a swath of 13 feet 8 inches from end to end. You can add another 10 inches for the power connection and the pilot arc connection, because they're a little longer than the actual airline itself. And I got a few bends in the work lead, but apparently we're looking at roughly about 6.5 to 7 feet for the work lead itself, which that's reasonable. I would like to see the work lead being, you know, somewhat the same length as everything else, but that just seems to be the norm when it comes to most equipment in the welding and etc. fields. But for whatever reason, they always cut you short on your work lead. But it is what it is. So let's get back to business. And let's get to the panning here, if you will. Again, this is shipped straight from the eBay. This thing, I think it weighs about 22 or 23 pounds, something like that. The ship weight was 27 pounds. That included, you know, obviously the boxing and the consumables, cables, and that's it. You get. So I'm not real sure just yet. It looks like it's going to have a built-in regulator. Oh, let's get this out. And it does have the twist lock style power plug on it. I anticipated this, so I've already taken the liberty of getting a plug that will match everything else in my garage. So that's what we're going to put on it. This is going to be the, let's see, not even sure what model this thing is. I'm looking. And I can't see it. So anyway, you know what they look like. You'll notice the fit and finish looks really nice. This thing, I'm not seeing anything that would compromise its usability. Everything appears to be in pretty good shape. That's obviously for your regulator for your air. Just have the gauge on the front, your power, your work lead, the pilot arc connection, and move around to the side of it. This is a metal case, it's not plastic. It's got a nice solid handle. There's a list for the consumables. You want to get replacement consumables, it's right there. It tells you what you need. Again, Lotos says that you can only get their stuff from them, so that's probably why the markup is a little bit high on their consumables, from what I've heard. This is the tail end of it. Got the fan. It does have a water separator. It's all up in here. It looks like it may be open right now. Well, I guess pull down on it. Okay. Your air intake. Your power switch is on the back end. I believe that's got something to do with international regulations, considering we're not international. And I don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell you what duty cycle is because I can't really see it, but if I Once I do, I will let you guys know. Going to the other side, got warning labels. Again, it's vented, it is metal. And this is the LTP5000D by Lotos Pilot Arc Air Plasma Cutter. It's 240 volt or 120 volt. It's 30 amp. Very nice. Nice and clean. And I'm going to get that plug swapped out. I don't think y'all want to see that. You've probably seen them before. So stand by. Okay, now I wasn't sure if it was going to have a water separator and, you know, the dryer and all that. I'm hoping you can hear me. Oh, the air compressor just shut off. So I went ahead and put an air regulator on my compressor. My compressor sits on the other side of this wall. And I've got it set for about 140 pounds. Then I've got it reduced out here to about 75 pounds on the regulator here. And it also has a water dryer and separator. So I did this in anticipation that it may not have it with the system. It doesn't hurt. It does come with a separator. So this thing's going to have water pulled off of it twice before it ever comes out into the plasma cutter. So I'm assuming it's just, it'll probably help the system exponentially. So that's where we're at. Okay, just in the event that you get one of these and it doesn't have a plug on it, before I get this thing ripped completely apart, I just wanted to show you what I've got. And these are going to be your hots, okay? You got a solid blue and you've got a solid brown. They're both connected to the two hot leads, alright? Your ground is going to be this multicolor, tutti frutti looking thing. Looks like it's going to be greenish blue and yellow. That's going to be your ground. Okay, it took me a few minutes to put the new plug on here. That's your common plug that most welding shops are going to use for their 220. I don't know anybody that uses the twist locks unless they're hooked up to a generator. But that's where we're at, and we're fixing to do a maiden voyage just to see if we got power and see if anything starts smoking. Here we go. We are plugged in. I'm not seeing any smoke. Buttons on the back. We have power. All the way down, I'm getting 21 amp. It's supposed to be a 50 amp system. All the way up, I'm getting 49, not 50. I don't know how accurate their meter really is, so who's to say. But as it stands, we have power. The implement control under amperage seems to be okay. At the halfway point, my assumption would be 25 amp, but I'm only showing 35. So again, I don't know how accurate this thing's going to be. So I'll get it hooked up to the compressor, get the work leads and stuff on it, and we'll be back. Alright, what I'm trying to do now is just get some of the stuff hooked up to it. I've already got the power plugged into it. I'm fixing to run air to it. Then I'll adjust my air pressure. I didn't look in the book yet, and I probably should have, but I'm going to try and set it somewhere around 65 pounds and see where we're at. So far we've got air on it. So we've got air and we have power. And this is telling me, it says about 60 pounds coming in right here. And let's see what we got. That's about 65 pounds right there. Okay. Take that off of there. Get there's the work clamp. Okay. Table is grounded. torch is nicely encased with this wrap that it's got on it, and I love the 13, almost 14 foot. Gives you a little bit of reach. It'd be nice to have a little bit more reach with the work clamp, but it'll do for now. Getting the trigger control plugged in, and the pilot arc connection. Okay, I believe we've got everything hooked up. Excuse me, it's hot in this garage. This is mid-Florida and everything in there is hot right now. So, I've got a few pieces here. Come on a little closer. That I'm going to work on. I may have to end up grinding some stuff up. Come on up here, I'm going to show them what I got on the table. I got a piece of 3/4 inch rebar, dirty. This is a piece of cast. I don't know if it'll cut cast, but we're going to find out. This is cast iron. This is just, looks like maybe some, not quite 1/4 inch aluminum. Looks like 3/16 aluminum. And tiny, maybe 14 gauge. And that's what that is. It's 14 gauge aluminum. It'll just pop right through that stuff. It's going to be a piece of 14 gauge, real soft steel. Nothing to it. Looks like it's got a zinc or galvanized coating on it. A little piece of pipe full of dirt. And this is, there's also 3/16 pipe. Nothing real heavy. I've got some 1/2 inch plate, but it's buried and I can't get to it. When I do get that pulled out, I'll cut it. I'll get it on film. I'll cut that and let you guys see it cut it. That's 1/8 inch thin wall steel pipe, square tube. This is 1/4 inch steel, and that's 5/16 steel. And it's all dirty. If I can't get through it, then I'll take a few minutes. I'll grind everything off nice and clean and all that good stuff. I'm grounded to my table. It may or may not be enough, but we'll find out soon enough. And stand by. Okay, I'm just about there to the point where I can take a couple of test cuts. Like I said, I've never used a plasma cutter in my life, and the only reason I really wanted one is because I was working on that smoker and cutting that 1/4 inch plate with those cheap grinding discs, cutoff discs, is for lack of a better term, a daunting task. And I'm wanting to do a lot more of it, so I felt like the purchase of a do-it-yourselfer hobbyist, home hobbyist that I am, that's probably the cheapest route to go. And so this is where we're at today. I got a pair of old acetylene torch goggles. I think they're about a shade 5 or so, give or take. So that's what I'm going to use to protect my eyes. Got gloves on with holes in the fingers. I'm going to make a couple little cuts here with this thing, see if the pilot arc works and all that good stuff. So you can wish me the best. Again, I've never touched one in my life, so it's going to be a learning curve for me as well. So let's see if we get some power. Again, I set my primary air compressor about 130 to 140 pounds all the time. If I hear it running in the background, it's just a quarter cable job site, job boss, what we're going to call it. Then I go to a regulator on the wall with a filter, and it's set at about 65 or 70 pounds, something like that. And it comes into the machine itself, and right now I'm sitting at about 70 pounds on the machine. So that's where we're at. I'm going to start off with a small piece of just really, really thin sheet metal is all this is. It was a guard on something that I bought a long time ago and I've never really used it. So I'm going to try and cut that. I'm just going to leave it on about, if you'll look right here, we got about 21 amps on this thing. That's where we're going to start out at with that really small stuff and see how it does. And we should have power, so I should get a pilot up. If you look at this thing closely, that's where we're at. We have a power up. You hear my compressor in the background, so I'll try to talk over it. Okay. I think what I'm going to do first off, since I've gone this far, I did not take the consumables apart and check them. So I'm going to shut everything off, and I'm going to go back and look inside here and see what I got, and then we'll start cutting. I probably should have done that in the first place, and I wasn't thinking, so I'll just in a hurry to play with this thing. Let me get these gloves off. I should have done that in the first place, and I didn't do it. Even I know better, so not hot. Yes, it is. There we go. Okay. I want to do this just to avoid any headache that may arise. And it was loose. So, stick these off. My garage is hot. Like I said, we're in Central Florida, and it's been in the 90s all week. And yeah, it's warm out here. I have air conditioning in here, but you probably won't be able to hear over that. So, and I don't know how to get that out of there. I'm sure you got to use a pair of pliers on it. I'm not going to take it out. It feels like it's pretty tight, so I'm just going to put it all back together, and we'll go from there. I think finger tight is really all we need. Again, this is set on 21 amp. We'll put that little porcelain cup back on there. It's got the little guide. Feels like it's, and that really sets really tight to the work. I mean, there's not probably a 1/16 of an inch from here to the tip of that electrode. So let me put my stuff back on and we'll try this again. Any useful comments would be appreciated. And yeah, shade 5 is kind of dark. All right. Okay, YouTube, let's give it a shot. See what we get. We have power. We're 21 amps, and I'm going to start with this little piece of sheet metal. This is a unique tip. Damn it. I was probably moving a lot slower than I really needed to, so that cut's pretty easy. Got a little bit of dross on the back side of it, but I was probably moving way too slow. So this is really thin material, and that's what we got. That was cutting through paint. I'm knocking some of that dross off of it, so it ate through that pretty easily. Alright. We're at about 30 amps. This is just some real thin sheet metal, maybe 14 gauge. Cutting it pretty easy. I think I'm just moving a little too slow. I'm going to try the about 1/8 inch steel pipe, square tube. I'm going to bump it up to about 35, give or take a little bit. Come on up here and stand about right here. Danielle, come up here. I'm going to have her move a little closer because I want you a little better angle rather than sitting over there. There we go. Okay, it didn't waste any time. Getting a lot of popping, but I think it's because I'm using pretty dirty material. It's really rusty. But that's an ugly cut, and I'm going to say that's me, it's not the machine, because the machine seems to be doing pretty good. But today through that rust and crud pretty easily. This is just a real thin piece of aluminum. Let's see what that does. Again, it's kind of ugly, but I'm sure that's me, it's not the machine. Piece of 3/8 pipe that's pretty dirty as well. I'm going to clamp my work load right to it. See if that'll help it. It's actually doing a pretty good job. I'm pretty terrible. This thing's full of dirt. So yeah, I'm using some pretty nasty material. But there it is. I'm going to turn it up a little bit and go to some thicker stuff. Says it's a 50 amp system. I'm looking at 48 maxed out. I don't trust their gauge. So it is what it is for being a Chinese knockoff. 3/16 aluminum. It's actually not a bad looking cut. I went a little faster with it. It didn't have any problem getting through it. This is a piece of painted and rusty 1/4 inch steel. Didn't really have a lot of room to move the torch. I'll tell you what, it didn't have any problem cutting it. And that's the 1/4 inch steel. A little bit of dross on the side. I think it's because I'm running a little too slow. My little clamp was kind of getting in the way, but it cut it. I'm pretty pleased. Try a piece of 5/16. See where that goes. There's a cut on a piece of 5/16. Got some dross, that's probably because I was running a little too slow. And it's stinky. Okay, up to this point, I'm pretty sure we've just been doing some mild steel. We'll see what it's going to do with this piece of, I think it's cast, but I'm not positive. It's steel. That's some pretty thick stuff. We're going to try and cut that. This is pretty dirty stuff and rusty. There's a lot of dirt and crap on this one, so it may have some real issues, but I didn't have a ground on it either. So let's try it again. It's a piece of 3/4 inch, and it just ate right through it. No problem whatsoever. The first time I hit this, I didn't have a ground on it. You could tell it was sputtering and carrying on. So just in closing, for what I'm going to be doing, I think it's going to be just fine. It's a low-end home hobbyist piece of machinery, and for those of us that really can't afford, you know, Miller, thermodynamics, whatever, hypertherm, everybody would love to have a hypertherm 45, wouldn't that be nice? But if you want American made, you're going to pay for it. Yep, it's Chinese. Honestly, I don't care. It is what it is. It's going to suit my needs really well, I'm pretty sure. So if there are any questions, any comments, put them out there for me, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. As it stands, I'm pretty pleased with it. It cut everything I put in front of it. If it stumbled, it wasn't the machine. I don't believe it was going to be me, because like I said, this is the first time I ever used a plasma cutter. So there it is, and thank you for your time.